Hi, everybody. So we have a wonderful class today with Nicholas Willis, and he is going to teach us what it means to him to be an American Indian. And he has a great presentation that applies to schools and mascots, and he'll introduce himself and tell us his tribe. And this is a class we did um, the for children, and then we played a game afterwards, but the tech wasn't working with us that night. So we're redoing it so everybody can enjoy this class. So, okay, go ahead and take it away, Nicholas. Oh, wait, I want to just say how I met you because that was super important to me. I met Nicholas at a school board meeting in Farmington for Davis School District. He had come all the way up from Cedar City to testify on behalf of keeping the Braves name in a Bountiful High School. And his story was very heartfelt and compelling and really moved me. And so I just wanted most people to get a chance to hear his story. And if you have questions, post them and he will answer those in the comments of it later on. So okay, go ahead, Nicholas.
Hi, my name is Nicholas Willis. I am a member of the Kickapoo tribe, which is in Texas. Um, I first discovered that I had Native American ancestry when I was doing my genealogy, and so I, like Brooke said, I went to Davis County School District, and I went to advocate in support of the Braves, the Bountiful Braves. I had previously sent emails to the members of the school district in that Bountiful area, and I had emailed them like facts and polls and studies that show that Native Americans support these names and images. I did receive emails back that said like, thanks for reaching out, we appreciate your comments, but nothing really wanting to engage in conversation. And I went up to Bountiful. uh I took a ride up there, and went, and after, they wouldn't let me speak because at the time, the public comment, you were only allowed to speak, you were in that area. And so I just thought they would let me, have a chance to at least voice, you know some sort of opinion out there. And I went and engaged with the superintendent at the time, who was Superintendent Newey. I went and engaged with him after the whole meeting was over, very respectfully, and kind of tried to explain, why Native Americans support these images, why it's important to keep traditions. And, I frankly was pretty much ignored. He kind of like brushed me off. I was very polite, very respectful. Um, Brooke was there too, so she could test to
Yes,
that.
yes, you were very polite and respectful and very well spoken. Um, I remember there was something that happened afterwards. I forget what it was, but I was like, I'll stand by you. You're very polite. So
Yeah. And so I also engaged with the school board member there as well, and talked to her as well. And you know you could tell that they really kind of didn't have a choice to keep it. Kind of, they were kind of more like the administration had played a huge role in like wanting to get rid of it. And so they decided to listen to the percentage of people that that didn't support the image and name. So they decided to just erase it from history.
and in our meeting when we gave our class, I asked you, why do you think that they are fighting against it? And I think it was the student body that you had said was mainly going for it. And it was around being afraid to call names, being afraid to be called racist or whatever the names are that are being targeted. And so that's causing us a knee-jerk reaction to erase people rather than to um, you know, it's very self-centered to say, I'm not going to do this because somebody might call me a name and misinterpret me. And in order to avoid all that name calling and ill-placed hate and ridicule. I'm just going to get rid of the problem altogether. And that's kind of what it seemed like to me.
True. It's a nationwide effort to get rid of these names and images. They did it with the Washington Redskins. They did it with the Lando Lakes butter. I actually, when I was a representative, I emailed Lando Lakes, knowing that this cancel culture movement was soon going to come for the image of that was on the butter itself. And I actually emailed them saying, "Hey, like I know this is coming. If there's any problems, please reach out to me, and I will help the best way I can to help be able to preserve that Indian image, maiden image." Her name is. I actually emailed them and they sent me a history of the image itself. So her name is Mia. She's a beautiful Indian maiden, and so Lando Lakes had that opportunity and they had all the information they can, and to actually keep the image on the butter itself. But they decided to listen to this cancel culture movement and just say, "Okay, we're not gonna listen to your perspective. We're just gonna do this. We're just gonna, you know, erase this off butter." And so now, there's no image on the butter. It's just Lando Lakes.
I didn't realize that. You know what? I'm going to have to stop buying it and I'm going to email them and tell them why. So, yeah, I think this just really is the cancel culture movement, which is intentional to erase our culture so a new one can come over. Okay, maybe I won't get into that. But it seems like that whole movement is causing people to be so afraid that they're losing each other. They're losing themselves, they're losing, the history, and that's the point. And so I'm glad you're here to tell us about, the people, and should we launch into your presentation?
Yes, yeah, we can go ahead and launch into the presentation.
Okay. Mine, it went away, so you're gonna see my messy screen for a second because I don't know where I went. Okay, so let's get into this. Okay, go ahead.
Do you just want to press on the
Yes, the next one.
slide? All right. My first slide, I titled it "Standing Strong," was because here in Cedar City, we had a battle ourselves, and it's still a battle that we're waging strong. Um, we have a tradition of 77 years that was erased by people who it actually all started with a video that circulated. We have a local dance team here called Mowitawa, which actually means Indian princess. It's still called that. So what happened was an outside people from that aren't from this area actually saw the performance of the video on YouTube, and it was of um, our dance team dressed up as like Indian, like kind of like the headdress, and like it's like a kind of like a costume per se, I would say. And it was an Indian dance that was actually they had received permission from the tribe, from the local Paiute tribe, actually, that they could actually perform this. But it, of course, didn't look, it looked like a bunch of you know people that were like mocking natives, and like so it
Well,
circulated.
what I
Go
love
ahead.
about it is that they went and they asked permission. And then those who said you can't do it, they're so condescending and saying, even if the local tribe gives permission, which I think is very respectful to ask them for that, to honor their culture and to say, well, they don't have permission. You have to ask us, cancel culture, if you can do it or not. And that's just in who you're going to ask for permission to do it is very telling. And who should be calling the shots is the local tribe. And maybe for future performances, if that is a disclaimer to prevent that from happening and say this is approved by the local Paiute, just in the video before it starts by the local Paiute tribe. They love that we're sharing their culture. It could have been avoided. So I think as we learn as we go, so that we can keep these beautiful performances.
Yeah, I agree. It all could have been avoided if I feel like disclaimers were put in there and people knew that it was actually approved by the tribe.
Hmm.
So I think that would have prevented a lot of problems.
Right.
I so after that video all circulated, and you know, there was a lot of push on the school. There was a lot of harassment coming from outside Native people. There were Native organizations that were putting out statements against this. There were activists that they just had a field day with this. They just, spread it all. These girls were getting bullied, harassed, everything, and just all the worst ways possible. There's a lot happening. And so that put pressure on our school board. At the time, the school board had a few, I think it was like a 3-2 vote. At the time, I think we had 5. Yeah, 3-2 vote. 3 were against it, and 2 were for it. Um, the 2 on the board that were for it actually did their own research and listened to a survey that was sent out to the community and amongst the students, and an overwhelming majority of community members wanted to keep the Redmond, and as well as many Native Americans that I've talked to that I went to school with, as well as some that were currently in school. I actually had set up a page, a Facebook and Instagram page to kind of help during that time educate students about why it's important to keep traditions and history. So uh, there was there was a committee created. The committee, all those people that were on the committee itself, um, compromise of like Redmond alumnus, faculty, staff, but all those people, they had direct ties to the superintendent at the time. And so, a lot of like people, the committee was basically just rigged, full of people who we knew how it was going to go. So technically, it really wasn't a committee. Um, that's why I don't really favor the word committee as much. But during that time, a lot of tension. Like you could see the divided community. You see there was a lot of tension, even in the grocery store. You could tell like such so and so supported this, and such likes this. I don't like them because of this issue. It causes a real strife in this community. And Cedar City's pretty small community, so it's like everyone usually is friendly with each other. So it's you know I came out really strong in support of this. A lot of Native Americans, uh, actually, the Paiute tribe leader, whose name is Slayton, Tammy Bouchard Slayton, actually, she actually came out against the name, and said that the tribe did not support the name Redmond. But that was because there was a policy passed back then that they couldn't support Native American imagery and names. So we already knew that like there were several Paiute people that I've talked to that didn't necessarily agree with their board chairwoman of the Paiute tribe. They didn't necessarily agree with her opinion, and so I think it was kind of, there was a lot of mixed feelings amongst us Native Americans as well as, those that supported the name. So
I would think that most people are on the same side. They just can't express it correctly. Most people want to continue teaching respectful traditions, and that's, I believe, what both sides would want. But they just can't figure out what's respectful. And so those are hard conversations to have when you already have a preconceived notion of where the other person stands and why. So that's pretty great that you are going around having these conversations with people one on one, and your approach is really how you get things done. So kudos to you for being in the middle of it, going around and sharing your perspective and finding out where other people stand.
and a lot of people are afraid to have conversations with each, and because they have this idea that, oh, I'm right, I shouldn't listen to the next whatever such and such says, and I had the discussion. Actually, I set up a meeting with the principal at the time, um, and a lot of people were not wanting me to have that meeting with the principal. The ones that supported it, they didn't want me to have that meeting and that conversation. And I felt like I could have the conversation. So I did. At one time, we sat and at a diner here in town, and we actually did have a conversation about why she decided to go ahead with this change, and being able to like hear, you know like, why did you do this? A majority of people support this. Like, the facts are there. Like, why were you basically, I kind of said, why make this decision? Like, why support this? The right decision was to keep it. And the principal basically told me that you know she appreciates for meeting with me and my passion, but she pretty much said her hands were tied. Pretty much, she said that she couldn't do anything. She was afraid to,
Yeah, that's a
to
cop out. That's a major cop out. My hands are tied. That's I call BS on that because we always have the power to do something. And yeah, maybe they're putting pressure on her. She could say they're putting pressure on me, a lot of pressure. And so that's I would never buy, yeah, your hands are tied. I say I listen to what they say and I'm like, okay, I hear you're not going to do anything and I'll back off, but I'm not going to understand that you can't do anything. My understanding is you choose not to. And you're weak. You're a weak leader when you do that. So
and what I told her, I was pretty straightforward with her. I tried to maintain stability, but I was very straightforward with her. And I said, no, you have a choice. I said, you just are afraid.
good for you.
And then when I told her, when I hear of Native American students being harassed and pulled out of class for supporting this, and educators calling kids out on the spot that were Native, saying that they were basically racist for supporting, the name Redmond, and as and basically just violating, freedom of speech for these kids that were in support of this.
Can
And
I ask a
I think
question about that? So the Native American kids were called racist by their teachers for standing in support of this. That's what you just said. That's that's crazy to me. That is a very racist statement to say that I have the power to tell you what you can and cannot do instead of giving them freedom of speech. So
in
sorry
fact
you have it.
we had an attorney who was actually willing to help take, in defense of their freedom of speech, take these people to court if the kids wanted to prosecute. But the thing is, they're afraid to speak out in retaliation. It's always something. They know that if they did, it's the right thing to do, but they're just afraid. This could ruin my reputation or so and so. And so we're always always afraid. It's a tough conversation. There's a lot that can happen. There's a lot of backlash.
Well, I'm glad you keep it going, because how many years ago did this happen?
Oh, this happened. Actually, it wasn't too long ago. It was probably like 3, 4, 5 years ago, something like that. I can't remember
Okay.
exactly when.
Well, good. We need to keep talking about it. Is this the next slide, or
Yeah, can you go to the next slide?
do you want
Do
me to
we
play
want?
it?
Yeah.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
I was trying to make it bigger.
What's up, guys? This is Will Witt with PragerU. Today we're at the Navajo Nation and we're talking to people today about political correctness, issues facing their community and their culture. Let's do it. Do you find the name Washington Redskins, is that offensive to you?
I don't think so. In my personal opinion, no. I am a Washington Redskins fan.
I don't think it's terrible, because the Redskins actually came down last year with our Native American people and taught them how to do football, the little kids.
I don't find it offensive. Someone came to me and called me a Redskin to my face. Hey, it's my fault for letting that hurt me. I believe as Navajos and as Native Americans, we have larger issues to deal with than name calling.
Like that. I like the Cleveland Indians. So I thought that was pretty cool, but some people would say that was like a drunken native on a logo, you know what I mean? But the Redskins, I mean, that's a historic, that's a fighter, you know what I mean? And like you look at the Apache helicopters, you look at the Navajo code talkers, you see people jumping on airplanes saying Geronimo. So that's just admiration that the American cultures that's adapting and bringing into their environment.
We can't dwell on the past. Progress is in the future, and so we have to look forward as Native people.
I didn't know if you heard about Elizabeth Warren talking about 1024th Native American, putting that out there. What does that mean to you when she says that?
I think that's just a way of kind of having an advantage, being in a political position. Let me ask a question back. If I were, maybe in a different country, let's say Ireland, and maybe I had 1% and I was trying to claim the 1%, you know what I mean? Kind of like that, you know what I mean?
What would you say are the biggest issues right now facing the Navajo community?
Definitely language and culture preservation.
And realizing that it is something we need to preserve, and it's something very special and unique, something that a lot of people don't get to enjoy. It's a cool thing being Navajo and being Native American in this day and age.
If someone were to dress up as a Native American for Halloween, what do you think about that? Someone outside of the community?
There's a fine line there. For me, there are totems, there are pieces of attire and regalia that are authentic and only meant to be worn during certain times or certain acts of ceremony. But if you go to Walgreens or Walmart or the Halloween store or a costume specialty store, you buy something that's obviously fake, I don't really have a problem with that.
The symbolism of the headdress and stuff like that. And I can see how Native Americans traditionally, who may not see that as great, but as a young person like myself, I think that's a cool thing that we get to be represented.
Well, when you start mutilating eagles or sacred animals to make up your regalia just for a Halloween costume, then you're crossing the line.
Disrespecting the culture.
Exactly. But as far as cultural appropriation, mankind wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for cultural appropriation. At some point in our history, somebody took the idea of making fire from another culture.
And the Navajos were able to adapt and basically learn from the people that they were and able to integrate that into their own culture. So we were basically survivors. We take a lot of pride in that. And then the Navajo code talkers that were in the South Pacific Theater, they used their Native American language, and they were instrumental in every Marine action and all the different scattered network islands overseas. And it could have been any other, people in the world, but by the blessing of the Creator, we were, given and granted that opportunity to protect our homeland, which is America.
But I think it has become very unfortunate that we live in a culture and a society where outrage has become a recreational pastime. where people nit and pick until they find something wrong, and then they become outraged by it. And that, for me, I believe that hurts cross-cultural relationships. I believe it hinders us helping to understand each other. Now, here at the museum, I give a lot of cultural lectures and a lot of cultural tours. That's part of my job here. And I always start off every tour and every questionnaire session with, I'm very difficult to offend. And I believe that the most offensive questions are the questions that need to be asked and answered. Because that's the only way we learn with each other, whether it's between religion, beliefs, cultures, gender, doesn't matter. The most offensive things are sometimes the most important conversations to have.
All right, guys, so we just finished up here at the Keshmish Festival here at the Navajo Nation, and we found that most Native Americans are not so worried about being offended and more worried about bettering themselves. And they love this country, they love the military, and they love the USA. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, follow me and PragerU on social media. Drop your comments below and make sure you share this video with your friends. I'm Will Witt for PragerU.
That was
Perfect.
awesome.
All right. So in there, they mentioned the Navajo Code Talkers. One of the really cool friends of the organization that I was a part of was Peter McDonald, who actually was a code talker. Peter McDonald was also the leader of the Navajo Nation. He received a medal, a Congressional Medal of Honor for his service. And he also assisted the organization. I'm going to go refer to it as NAGA, but it's actually the Native American Guardians Association. So anytime I say that, it's in reference to that organization. He assisted us in our amicus brief, which was a lawsuit that was led against the Washington Redskins the first time by an activist known as Amanda Blackhorse. And Blackhorse, of course, brought the first lawsuit. And Peter McDonald testified in support of the name Redskins, saying that the Redskins was not offensive. And he helped be an influence to winning the first lawsuit. That led them to keep their name.
That's great.
All right. So the Native American Guardians Association, also known as NAGA, they were founded in 2014 to be the voice of the silent majority. So individual Native American opinions versus, national Native American opinions like the National Congress of American Indians. NAGA was basically formed to kind of help educate schools and promote positive use of Native American imagery and names across the United States. NAGA uses polls, independent polls, and facts to show that Native Americans support these names and images. And there's been polls done by the Washington Post and other independent polling as well done to show the support.
Do you know who funds the Native American Congressional? What's the name of the other organization?
The National Congress of American Indians.
Yeah. Do you know where they get their funding?
Yes, the National Congress of American Indians and several other organizations, they mostly get their funding from casinos. And those casinos are funded, of course, by George Soros. Back when the Black Lives Matter movement was happening, they actually joined forces with that movement, the cancel culture movement with BLM. There's videos out there that I've seen of Amanda Blackhorse, the one who led the lawsuit against the Washington Redskins, actually speaking at those rallies and pushing for erasure of not just Native American history, but all different cultures, African American, Italian, you know, the erasure of pretty much almost every culture. So they were just, there's just, yeah, that money has just come from places that, you know, they've tried, they've been successful in passing like state laws that prohibit schools from, you know, it's all in the education system. That's what's happening. They're, you know, teaching all this stuff and basically saying, hey, we need to erase culture. You know, we need to try to be more sensitive to
Mhm.
people's feelings and instead of
Embrace them.
actually, yeah.
And will actually cause the disturbance, so you think our point is true. So maybe after this you could get me the links so that I could post them so people can see the connection between the funding.
Yeah, I can go ahead and provide some links in there.
Okay. Do you want me to
Wanna play it?
start? And
Yeah.
not right now, but after I upload the video, we'll put the links in to the YouTube video and to the post when we share this.
And any information that we have to put in.
Yeah. Should I start this?
Actually, yeah, this one's important. Yeah, this one.
That the Institute of Higher Learning would you know honor them by using their name. That's why we're here today in support of the people here that are trying to keep the name, and for any other universities or schools that are threatened, you know, by NCAA or other agencies, state agencies that want to do away with native imagery. I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong. To me, it's the end result is what's trying to be accomplished here is just going to erase Native people from the history throughout the United States. It's sad the way it's happening. It's showing our support, you know, that as far away as North Dakota, this small group down here that's fighting to keep the emblem here at the University of Illinois, that, you know, these are Indian people are coming down in support of what they're doing. I think it's going to make an impact on this university community, just simply by showing our support and what we believe in.
You most likely believe that if the Fighting Illini name and the honored use of that name and what it is part of, if that were to be lost, it would be very detrimental to Native Americans all across the country.
I think so. I think so. The underlying intention of that, I think, is just to, like I said earlier, erase us from the history of this nation. Today, I feel good about myself because I learned a lot of my heritage as a Sioux person, and I'm proud of it. Like I said earlier, I'm proud that a university would use our name. I was hurt by some of our people who looked at racism or prejudice and then blame it on an image. You know, that's something that I take pride in. I learned to speak through prayer. So a daily prayer, asking the Creator to look down upon us and pity us. This the humans and the animals and the plant life, you know, we're all one. So what we always say is "Mita Kuya Uyasi," which means I'm related to everything. And that's that's in my daily prayer. You know, that, I end it that way. I feel at peace when I can do it.
That's so beautiful. Such a great message to share.
A phone call. I'm going to talk about the Native American imagery that is in Utah. So we have the Escalante Mokies. They still proudly maintain their Native American imagery as well. We have Chief Massasoit, who is actually sits in the Utah State Capitol. We have the University of Utah, which the Ute tribe supports. The University of Utah. We also have, if you look in Salt Lake City on the poles, there is also beautiful Native American imagery across on the poles themselves in downtown Salt Lake. So,
Oh, I'll have to look for it.
yes, up by Temple Square area, kind of just all over on the pole. So, cool.
I just went to a hotel in Greenville, South Carolina, the Marriott, that one of their heritage museums, heritage hotels. I've never seen more beautiful Native American, a tribute. I don't know who the creators were, but it was such a beautiful tribute. There was jewelry, I took all the pictures. I'll share it with you after. I took the pictures for you, actually. Because I loved it. And you're creating this love in me of celebrating Native Americans and any way we can do that. So thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead and go to the next slide.
Do you want me to play this?
Actually, we'll just go to the next one. There's one. Native Americans. Yes, let's do this one. Okay, guys, this is gonna sound very hypocritical, but there is the National Congress of American Indians. That is actually their logo. That's their image of their organization that they use. And you can tell it is a Native American and in a headdress itself. So, there's some hypocrisy there because, they say they're the largest organization and that they represent a majority of Native American tribes, right? They may have that much people in their membership, but okay, their voice does not represent the individual Native American opinions. And actually, tribal politics plays a role into this as well. So a lot of Native Americans are afraid to speak out in fear that they'll lose their benefits or something like that, or their enrollment, because they have a differing opinion. And this organization has branches, it's documented, of different organizations that are called like NARF, which is the Native American Rights Fund. There's a lot of different other organizations out there that actually have been giving grants to schools to get rid of these images and names. And they've also helped advocate in some of these states a threatening of state funding, telling these schools that they're going to lose their funds if they keep these images.
That's
names.
always where it goes. It goes to the money. That's what's driving so much of this, I believe.
Exactly.
Wow.
And it's sad because a lot of schools, depending on how big the school district is, they rely on funds to run. A lot of these school districts aren't as big, but there are schools that have told these, that are standing up to this, that have said, there's one in Killingly, Connecticut called the Redmond. My good friend Norm Farron is on the board there, and they've actually told them, the state, Connecticut, that we don't need your money. So pretty much, we're gonna do it. We don't care. We're not gonna take the money from you, state. We don't need your money. the communities are helping step up and, help give money to these schools that, saying, hey, we're not gonna see this happen. So there are schools that have said to the states, heck no, basically, we're not gonna do this. You can have our money, basically. So
Right. That's awesome, because they're teaching all the people in their school are learning that people are more important than money, and principles, and learning about true education. You can't buy that. You can't. So I'm very grateful for them. Thank you for telling that.
And then there are other schools that are saying that are getting the right message and actually, getting people that are on their own school boards to bring back these proud traditions. And there's movements that, there was a lawsuit that was actually led by my organization against the the governor of Colorado, Governor Jared Polis, and the lawsuit was pretty much, they were going to pass a law that prohibits schools from using Native American imagery. And
We lost your voice. I can't hear you.
could have been very successful in that lawsuit, but it was very sad. It's just how much and corrupted the media has become, and just they push that one-sided opinion. So just super sad to see that.
Yeah.
You go ahead and move to the next slide.
Oops.
Yeah, go back. Can you, Brooke, go to the website and to that last video with
This one?
no, it's on the website. I didn't think I attached it in there, but it's the one with the pink black cloud.
Okay. On the Naga website.
Correct.
Can you show me where it is?
Yes, go down. Or go to the home page. Go down. That one with on the right.
This guy?
Yeah. Yes.
Pure honor, and it's a very high integrity part on the outside world to look into us and look to us as something to be proud of. And you should all be proud of who you are, because the Fighting Sioux, Redskins, everything like that, those are proud images and proud names. The integrity, the history goes way, way back. You really need to study your history before it goes away. There is true history behind all the words, and it's nothing but an honor. And I am so honored to even be wearing the hat, and I'm wearing a shirt that says Sioux Country. I support all images of all types and varieties, and I think everybody should stand together, united, and stop all the stuff from the political correct to try to take all this away from us. I've fought this battle for many years, and the one thing I can give you as part of the advice is stand firm, stand your ground. Don't ever waver on your beliefs. Don't let them change your mind. Don't let them change your values. Most of all, don't let them touch your integrity about how you feel about it. Express yourself. Keep moving forward. If you always move forward, they can't beat you.
stay together, make sure that everybody is on the same page, and those that aren't, educate them to get them up to speed with you. That way they all know the more you educate each other, the more resources we have together to combat what's coming. And you don't want it to happen. In the long run, this is my greatest fear. By them taking the names and by taking the images, they're going to soon come after the reservations. Our boundaries are going to disappear, guys. That's what their ultimate goal is to, instead of leaving us with our treaty boundaries, they're going to take the lands. They're going to take everything, because they thought we were living in lands that were barren and wastelands. Well, we've got natural resources. The tribes are making money off these natural resources. You think they're going to let that happen? No, they want to erase everything so that we become common citizens. We are no longer a Sioux, a Chippewa, a Seminole. We won't be anything. We'll just be an American. Keep in mind, we are dual citizens. We have our own rights within our nation, and we have the rights of the United States. So we have more rights in some cases than many other people. But they're going to try to take all that from us. They're going to take the reservations. They may say, oh, he's crazy. I'm not crazy. Everything I've seen from here from the beginning of this till now, that's where it's pointed to. They're going to take everything. They're going to make you a regular citizen. We can't allow them to happen. We have to stand by the images now and make this battle, make this our front and our fight. And then let's do that, because down the road it's going to get a lot worse. So let's tackle this now. As my grandpa used to say, let's nip it in the bud. And right now we need to do a lot of nipping. Yeah.
All right. So like Frank Black Cloud says, we need to do a lot of nipping in the butt. They are going to start coming after everything that we have if we don't stand strong, and if we don't continue to educate ourselves and continue to share our cultures with other people, and nothing's going to be left for us. We know they're going to come after reservations. Nothing's stopping this movement. They're pretty adamant about it. They're pretty adamant about destroying cultures. They're pretty adamant about attacking the education system. That's where it's all coming from. It's all coming from academics, the education system. They're pushing this false narrative about, we should be sensitive to each other, and everything should be based on emotions. I'm sorry, but I was always, I had a lot of values as I was taught when I was a kid. Just basically like work hard for what you want. You want something to work hard for it. That's what I was taught, it's just like, and Black Cloud says, it's important for us to, share our culture, share our identity with people, because if we don't, no one else will. And, there are a lot of other issues out there that are pressing the American Indian community. Like I said, language preservation, that's important. It's important to share that. There's the culture, I can tell you, is dying, and it's we need to do our part to learn the best we can about cultures, and to continue to fight even though it's hard. Afraid. That's we just need to stand up and continue to fight, and continue to voice our true opinions out there, and not be afraid of the media and what other people think. So
Yeah, you're a great model to follow for how you continue to have these conversations and expressing your opinions. And so thank you for modeling that for us, and modeling us true, like, studies of other cultures instead of the liberated ethnic studies that wants to wipe other things away. So there was that other podcast of Carrie, and you're advocating for a true education, which is different from the liberated ethnic studies. You heard what she had to say last week. what do you see as the main difference between the type of education you're advocating for and the presentation she gave on the problems with liberated ethnic studies?
What are my thoughts on that?
Yeah, like how is the education you're advocating for different from hers? And just like, is your viewpoint the same as what she said about the dangers of liberated ethnic studies, or do you think she has a point?
I really think Carrie does have a point. I really appreciate listening to her perspective and, her ability to be able to have that conversation with people who disagree with us. I do think, it comes with like a mutual understanding of respect. I do believe that, we've lost the opportunity to have civil discourse amongst each other, and I truly think that we need to have that conversation and do things like Carrie does on her podcast, and continue to seek to understand. And I think that's the best solution. And I do think there are problems. I do think kids are in school are being taught, to hate themselves pretty much. I do think that mental health has played a definitely has played a huge role in you know not one's self-esteem, and I do think that we need to have conversations about culture, and I think that the only way we do that is by just listening to each other, even if we disagree. And I do think that kids need to really they need to like educate themselves. I'm a big fan of our motto: educate, not eradicate. I do think we need to kind of go and educate. There are things of every culture I know that is good and bad, but we should focus on I think the good stuff and learn from the bad stuff. So that's kind of my opinion.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you for starting this conversation, and hopefully it will spark more conversations around the state and further your desire to educate more about Native Americans. So, well, have a good day, and we'll see you around.
Thank you, Brooke. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Bye.